Welcome back to Pokemon RBY Challenges. Today we're continuing our Brock Minimum Battles series. In episode 1, we played through Brock with the first 15 Pokemon of Generation 1, going all the way up to Beedrill. In that first playthrough, we had 3 Pokemon that seemed like they were really on the cusp of getting through Brock. Bulbasaur, Butterfree, and Beedrill. It got me thinking, when we played that last time, we just used the first randomly generated Pokemon that we got in Professor Oak's lab. But what if these Pokemon had better stats? Would that impact whether or not they could get through? Butterfree in particular seemed like it just needed one more lucky turn with Confusion, and perhaps it could break through Brock. So even a small increase in its stats might have pushed it over the edge. So today, let's go back and see if Butterfree, Bulbasaur, and Beedrill might have stood a chance if we had just gotten a Pokemon with better stats. The way that we're going to do this is by changing the DVs of our Pokemon. So, let's break down the challenge rules. We're only going to use one Pokemon in battle. No items or glitches, but we will use a Game Shark for DVs, and perhaps for adding some pre-evolution moves. This might especially impact Pokemon like Butterfree and Beedrill, because when we got them in Professor Oak's lab last time, they each only had one attacking move. Butterfree had Confusion, and Beedrill had Fury Attack. Perhaps if they had some other moves like Harden, or their basic moves like a Tackle or Poison Sting, that could have affected their results with Brock in the end. Finally, we're going to take 10 attempts per trainer. There are 3 trainers to fight in this section of the game. The rival in Oak's lab, the bug catcher in Viridian Forest, and finally Brock himself. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We've got our Pokemon Yellow loaded up right here. Let's start with the Pokemon that seemed the most on the cusp of getting there. That would be our Butterfree. So we're going to go ahead and start a new game here. Let's run through all the same basics. We're going to stick with Ash for today. And let's get our rival Gary. Let's go ahead and pick up our potion just in case here. But let's see what kind of Butterfree we can get here. So here we're in Professor Oak's lab. We're about to get our Butterfree. Again, we are using an emulator that's sped up to make sure this doesn't take all day for us. But we've got our Butterfree, and let's look at Butterfree's stats here. Now, this Butterfree's not terrible. It's got a pretty high attack, kind of meh defense. Its speed is pretty good, and its special is, I believe, as good as it can be for a Butterfree of this level. This Butterfree could be improved slightly if it had one more point in defense and one more point in speed. But in general, this is actually a pretty high tier Butterfree. If we were to look at it, yeah, its attack has a perfect 15 DV. We know that because it has 11 attack. Its defense is not that great. Its DV is probably between 0 and 9, based on that stat. The same is true for its speed. But finally, for its special, we know that its DV must be 10 or higher, given that it has the 14 special. So this is as good a special as we can get on this Butterfree. So this is not a bad Butterfree by any means, but it could be better. Let's see what would happen if we upgraded our Butterfree here by adding in the perfect DV's Game Shark codes. So these aren't going to take immediate effect, but after we level up one time, we should be able to see new fresh stats on our Butterfree. And we'll see that they go up quite a bit. So let's fight our rival. Of course, we've already got a pretty good Butterfree here, but it doesn't hurt to just break through him. And we can see that our stats immediately jumped up quite a bit. Our attack went up to 15. 4 points increase. Our defense went up to 16. That's a 6-point increase. Our speed went up to 18. Again, a 6-point increase. And our special went up to 20. Again, a 6-point increase. And this is just from one level on this Butterfree with perfect stats. So our HP also jumped quite a bit. We went up to 28 HP. So this Butterfree is head and shoulders much, much better than the Butterfree that we played through with last time. And it might be that just this little bit of increase in stats will get it through Brock. And if that is the case, then we may go ahead and actually let this Butterfree try to continue the challenge. The big issue with Pokemon Generation 1 is that Brock is really a challenge for so many Pokemon. The vast majority of Pokemon start with only one move that is usually a physical attack, and most often it's going to be a normal type move. Even thinking about Pokemon like Machop, for example, for example, they start with Karate Chop, but in this generation, Karate Chop is a normal type move, so it doesn't really have much effect on a Pokemon like Brock. You might have another Pokemon that would seem like it could get through this challenge pretty easily, but its moveset's going to hold it back. A Pokemon like Mew comes to mind. Mew's got amazing stats, it's a legendary Pokemon, but it only starts with Pound, which is a fairly weak, normal type move. And if it can't do enough damage to Brock, then it's not going to be able to get through. The best chance that we can give these Pokemon when they have kind of met movesets is to go ahead and give them optimal stats. If they still can't get through with perfect stats, then they really don't deserve to get through this challenge at all, right? But many of these Pokemon, if they can get through Brock, could easily get to the end game with no issues. So we're going to go ahead and fight this Caterpie here. We already know that because Butterfree's in the medium-fast level-up group, it actually won't level up off of this battle. It's going to just stay right here at level 6. So the stats that we take in to that battle are actually going to be the exact same ones that we take into Brock here. So we're coming up to the gym. And here, let's save one time, and this is where we find out. Our Butterfree, with perfectly maxed out stats at level 6, is it going to be able to beat Brock? Let's go ahead and find out. So, Brock, first attempt here. Let's use Confusion. It's, of course, our only available move. That's good Confusion luck. And we just took that Geodude down, suffering only one hit from it. And now we've leveled up, and as we can see, our stats jumped up quite a bit again. The biggest thing that could derail us here would really be Onix using Bide, but it doesn't happen. And as we can see, with perfect stats, this Butterfree absolutely clobbers Brock. It's not even a contest. So what does this tell us? Well, in all likelihood, our first run failed because our Butterfree just wasn't strong enough. So, if we had a better Butterfree, we might have been able to get through Brock with much more consistency and been able to actually pass this Pokemon on. So, from now on, we may need to really look at perfect stats for our Pokemon. Okay, so that was Butterfree. It seemed like it had the best chance. But the next best chance to get through Brock actually seemed to be Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur, if you recall, it had a couple of extra challenges here. It couldn't beat the rival in Oak's lab because the mechanics of levels and experience, given that it's in a medium-slow group, were that it basically would level up past getting Leech Seed. And when it leveled up too much, it wouldn't be able to actually beat the beat the Geodude because it wouldn't have any real way of getting through that fight. But the real challenge seems to be that it was running out of hit points too quickly, and it could never get Geodude to do less than 2 damage per attack. However, it's possible that if we had better stats, we might be able to lower the Geodude's attack enough that Bulbasaur doesn't take 2 damage and it's just healing the same damage that it's taking from Leech Seed. Or it's also possible that we could end up with a situation where we just do enough damage when we're attacking it that we can get through. So if we wanted to look at what Bulbasaur's stats should be in this generation at level 5, let's see how our DVs came out. So in this case, we have 11 attack, which is all said, quite frankly, pretty good. That's as good as it's going to get. So we know that we've got at least a DV of 11 there. We can also see that we have 11 defense, which is also very good. That's as good as its DV for defense is going to get. Then we have speed, which is not very good. This Bulbasaur has very weak speed. Its DV can only be up to 4 in that stat. And then finally, the 11 that we have in special is the absolute worst that this can be. So we know that the DV has to be between 0 and 4 for that. Its HP is 20, which is kind of middle of the road. We can't really deduce what its DVs would be. But this is definitely not the best Bulbasaur. It can have higher HP, it can definitely have higher special and higher speed. And those could be a factor when we're facing Brock. So, again, let's just see what would happen if we maxed out the stats of this Bulbasaur. So we still have to fight through a battle and win a battle before the stat change is going to affect it, because we essentially have to level up. Remember, we have to lose this rival fight right here intentionally, because we need to not beat him so that we can level up to level 7 in Viridian Forest. If we beat the rival here, when we go to Viridian Forest and beat the Bug Catcher, which we must do in order to progress in the game, we're going to have the situation where we level up to level 8. And in this generation, if you level up past the level for getting a move, you don't get that move. Bulbasaur learns its Leech Seed at level 7. Why do we need Leech Seed? Well, just using Tackle isn't going to do enough damage. Leech Seed will allow us to recover some of our HP that we lose from Geodude's attacks. And basically that combination of Leech Seed and Growl is going to let us get the damage done by the Geodude down enough that hopefully we can then tackle until it faints. Once we get to Onix, Onix will actually give us 2 HP every turn off of Leech Seed. So provided we can get Onix to doing 2 damage or less with its moves, we can actually level or increase our HP there. Now, Bulbasaur is in the medium slow group, so it is going to level up faster than that Butterfree just now, which is why just off of this one fight here, it's going to reach level 7 here in the forest, as opposed to being stuck at level 6 like Butterfree was. So let's save right here, because this one can be a challenge. We've got a level 5 Bulbasaur going up against a level 10 Caterpie. Let's see how it goes. Okay, we're going to growl a couple times at this Caterpie to hopefully get its damage output down. We really don't want to get hit a lot of times by it, but there we go. So we've leveled up to level 7, and as we can see, our stats jumped up quite a bit. We now have 18 attack, 18 defense, 17 speed, and 20 special, and 29 HP to go with it. Now, the reason that that's important is because with more HP, with more defense, with more attack, we might just stand a chance here. So let's get into Brock here and see how we do. So let's save. And just remember, last time, Brock, no matter what we did, he always did 2 damage to us with the Geodude. That may be the case here again, but we're going to start off by seeding him, and then let's growl. Okay, attack missed, that's always good. Okay, it looks like he's still doing 2 damage to us, so we'll get the last growl off. Yeah, he's still doing 2 damage to us, but let's go ahead and try to take this Geodude out now. We need no critical hits. Please don't critical hit us. Okay. Well, that one didn't work, so that's 1 attempt down. Let's reset and try again. So, this is try number 2 on Geodude. It had a critical hit in there that really did kind of mess us up. It looks like we can get it down to doing 2 damage, and that's really as low as it can go, even with all 6 growls off. So we just need to start trying to damage it. And critical hits like that are basically going to end the run. So, okay, let's try one more time here. Let's reset. This is attempt number 3 at the Geodude. Okay, it's doing 2 damage, so that's really about as good as we can get it. Yeah, and that critical hit just keeps messing us up. Basically, we need to get through this Geodude, I think, without suffering a critical hit. So attempt number 4. Remember, we get 10 attempts per trainer here. Okay? And now I think we can just start attacking. This is a pretty good run here. We had an attack miss. That's another miss. That's pretty good. Looks like we're going to get through Geodude, assuming no critical hit. There we go. We've gotten through Geodude. So now, we've leveled up to level 9. We're on to Onix. We need to take the same strategy of using Leech Seed, and now we really need to growl enough to get its damage down. Okay. Like, Bind is not doing a whole lot of damage to us. And now we can just start attacking. And there we have it. Bulbasaur is through Brock at level 10 with Leech Seed. And all it really took was better stats. So, there we have it. The first 2 Pokemon that were on our list have successfully gotten through Brock with no issues. So Bulbasaur is now a winner. Butterfree is now a winner. What about Beedrill? Now, Beedrill wasn't quite as close as the other 2 when we went through last time. Beedrill didn't have a super effective move, of course. It didn't have a move that was even neutrally effective. But what it did have at its disposal was a multi-hit move in Fury Attack. The good news about Fury Attack is that if it critical hits, that Fury Attack is going to have up to 5 potential critical hits here. If the first one critical hits, all of them critical hit. And since Beedrill does have decent attack, that might actually be a legitimate strategy. However, it does also suffer from the fact that its moves are all not very effective. And because they're not very effective, they may not be able to actually do enough damage in order to get through. Or we might just need insane luck with misses and so on and so forth. So let's look at our Beedrill here. Let's look at the stats that it has. And I'll go ahead and pull up the stats to see how it compares to an ideal level 5 Beedrill. So just for basic stats, it can have 21 to 23 HP. So the 22 doesn't tell us a whole lot. It's going to be somewhere between 5 and 14 for the DV. 13 attack is not very good. This Beedrill can have up to 14 attack at level 5. if it has a DV of 10 or higher. So we know that this is not a very high-end Beedrill there. Its defense is going to be 9 or 10. So being that it's 9, the DV is anywhere between 0 and 9 for that one. 13 speed is also not the greatest. It can have up to 14 speed, so DV is somewhere between 5 and 14. So again, not super great. And special is in the same boat, where it could have up to 11 special. It only has 10, so its DV is somewhere between 5 and 14 here. So this Beedrill definitely does not have the best stats, but we do have a way of changing that. So let's just see here what would happen if we gave this Beedrill perfect stats. So let's go ahead and get back out of here. Let's fight our rival. We have to level up for the stat increase to take effect with the Game Shark. So we just need to take out this Eevee. And there we go. Now we can see our stats have increased significantly. Our attack's now up to 20, our defense is up to 15, speed's up to 19, special is up to 15. Our HP is also up to 29. So that's a pretty big increase for Beedrill. And with a multi-hit move, if it can do 2 damage to the Geodude, which is a question, but if it were somehow able to do enough damage to the Geodude, we might be able to get through and at least get to Onix and see how that goes. So let's just check and find out. So we got to take Oak's Parcel, of course, and see how this goes. The only other thing that we could try with Beedrill is, of course, it doesn't have a great moveset. It only has Fury Attack. Normally, if we leveled up a Beedrill all the way from a Weedle, it would have 4 moves. It would have Poison Sting, String Shot, Harden, and, of course, Fury Attack. The benefit of Poison Sting, if it were effective, would be that it would basically allow us to perhaps take away turns from the Geodude by poisoning it. And a move like Harden might be useful if we were able to get the damage output of the Geodude low enough to effectively win us extra turns while fighting here. We may do that as a final test if this one doesn't work out. But this one still seems like a little bit of a long shot. I mean, we're going to have to get pretty good luck here, I think, in order to get through Brock. But let's start off with the Caterpie here in the forest. Our attacks seem to be doing good amounts of damage, and there we go. We're through Caterpie. That one was never an issue to begin with. But the real challenge is right here. Brock. Will we be able to do enough damage to get through the Geodude now? Again, our stats, we've got 20 attack, so pretty good in attack. Our speed is definitely good, but our defense is pretty poor. So, what do you think? Let's try it. Attempt number 1. Here we go. So, we're just going to start off. We're really hoping for critical hits and a lot of hits. And we're really hoping for Geodude to miss some of its attacks. So we did get Geodude down into orange health, but as we can see, we did not succeed. Let's try another attempt. Attempt number 2. So here we can try again. But that Geodude does like 7 damage every single time that it hits us. And with 7 damage, I mean, we can only take 5 hits from it before we're out. So we really need Geodude to miss, or Geodude to get like a bad damage range or something. It looks like it's pretty consistently doing 7 damage to us. So that's not very good. Let's try a couple more attempts here. So, as we can see, I mean, we're just not doing enough damage to the Geodude. So, this doesn't seem to be working. So, there's only one other thing that I think we can try with this Beedrill, and that would be to use Game Shark to add pre-evolution moves. Basically, we can add in Harden and Poison Sting. String Shot is basically a worthless move, so there's no real reason to add it in. But if we add in String Shot and Poison Sting, what would happen then? Or sorry, not String Shot and Poison Sting, Harden and Poison Sting. So let's check what would happen if we added those in here. So let's add that one and enable. Let's just double check that our code worked. Oh no, that was Fissure. I don't mean 5A, I mean 6A on this one. Let's edit that. Yeah, with Fissure it would definitely have some sort of chance, but that's not a legitimate move. So, okay, there it has Harden, and then I think it's 2-8 is what we need in order to do Poison Sting. 7-4-D1. Okay, and enable. Let's check this one now. See what we have here. Okay, and there it has Poison Sting. So, these moves could, in theory, help us out. We've already lost 4 attempts against Brock, but perhaps with just slightly better moves, it would be possible. We probably won't let this Beedrill through even if it wins this, because these aren't really legitimate moves, but it's just an interesting thought experiment to see. Will just a slight change to moveset affect anything? So first, Harden, of course, increases our defense. And as we can see, it's doing less and less damage. So now it's down to doing 2 damage to us per turn. Poison Sting. The attack misses unless it's a critical hit. And the reason that the attack is missing here is because it doesn't do enough damage. It's resisted, double resisted by Geodude. So Poison Sting didn't really do anything to help us, but Harden might have done something. Let's see now if we can use Harden plus Fury Attack to perhaps get us through. So let's start off with Harden. Okay. And let's now use Fury Attack. See if just buying ourselves a couple of extra turns lets us through. No, that did not. So we're at 6 failed attempts. So we just have 4 more tries at him. Let's try a Harden. Yeah, critical hit's not going to help us any. Yeah, that didn't work. Again, just like Bulbasaur, we definitely need this Geodude not to critical hit us. So, here we are, attempt number 7. We need to get the critical hits. Yeah, that didn't work. At this point, there's not really a whole lot more that we can do other than just try these moves and see if they work out. It looked like that last time the Geodude was fairly strong. We really need it to start missing some attacks or something. Okay, so that one didn't work. We'll give it 2 more attempts, and then we're going to say that this is still not possible, even with maxed out stats. Well, definitely if it starts with a critical hit, we can't do much of anything. So There, we're out. So last chance for Beedrill. Will it be able to get enough luck to get through this battle? Like, theoretically, we would need this Geodude to miss just a ton of attacks to let us get through. Yeah. And it's just not happening. So, today, what we found was that Beedrill, even with perfect stats, well, it just didn't have any chance to make it through. So, to Beedrill, sorry, but you're gone. Well, if it will let me actually select the Beedrill. There we go. No? That's what I wanted. So, Bulbasaur and Butterfree have successfully moved on in the challenge based on just having better stats. This is something that we'll keep in mind as we continue on through the challenge. There may be some other Pokemon that if we just gave them slightly better stats, they'll be able to get through Brock. And once they get through Brock, the game opens up quite a bit. Go into Misty, there are a couple TMs available, but we can also route down to the SSN. After Misty, it really opens up because we don't even necessarily have to do Lieutenant Surge at that point if we don't want to. We can continue through Rock Tunnel, get to Cerulean City, go down to Fuchsia City if we get through the first part of the Rocket Quest line. You do the whole Rocket, takeover of Saffron City, Silphco storyline if we have to. So there will be a lot more options for Pokemon that can just get through this section. Anyway, I thought it was worth going back through one time to see how these Pokemon would do with better stats. Bulbasaur and Butterfree, you're moving on. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any comments, questions, put them down below. We'll be coming out with the next set of Pokemon, numbers 16 through 31, very soon. Thank you very much. See ya.